I'm having a hard time saying this word. I'm saying honeymoon.
Honeymoons are kind of funny moons, right? It's this weird scenario, right, where you're entering a new phase of life, but you get to put everything else.
That's right.
Everything else on stop.
You're not a newlywed anymore, are you?
When are you not?
I don't know. How long's it been for you?
Right? We are coming up on 2 years, actually.
You're not a newlywed anymore.
So
I mean, you are in a grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I feel like year one's great. Year two, you're definitely not in the honeymoon phase, right?
I think
not,
you're
and that sounds really bad.
out
Like I'm like, oh yeah, definitely year two was no, but.
Yeah, but your school. Yeah, I mean, I was about to make 8 different jokes, and I remembered my wife watches these, so none of them. I made no jokes. So our marriages have honeymoon phases, but so do our small groups, right? We've all probably had a little experience with this. That small group kicks off great, man. Right, this first few weeks.
Wow, I brought this one leader in, and they're amazing. They are gonna change the face of my ministry.
These students are all gonna be little Billy Grahams and Beth Moores, right, running around changing the world. Yeah. And then you go to Burger King 2 weeks later, and you're like, wait a minute, they're supposed to be at the church, and they don't have Bibles out. Wait. They're all on their phones. What's happening?
You were the chosen one. What are you doing?
Yeah, and so I do think it's something that most youth ministers deal with, right? That we start off strong in small groups, and then sometime around mid-semester, the newness wears off, and a lot of times what happens is it's just real life kicks in, right? You've had some challenges in schedule, and maybe personalities start to kind of really crop up, and so we need to learn how to deal with this. We need to have that moment where. We're like, okay, we acknowledge this is a thing, but how do we, as youth workers, really engage there and cut some of those negative tendencies off of the past, right?
Absolutely. So I think one of the first things you got to do when you realize the honeymoon phase is wearing off for your small group leaders is you have to balance the checking up on them without micromanaging them. Because let's be real, no one wants to be micromanaged.
That's right.
I don't know of any employee that's ever been hired and be like, the best way to handle me is
Could you please count how long I take my lunch break?
Like look over my shoulder, please.
Yeah.
And
you hired them because they were, I say hired, that's a wrong word. You recruited those volunteers because there's something about them that you thought, this person's going to do a good job.
And so when we check up on our volunteers, that's what we're focusing on, right? We don't want to come on top of them and say, hey, I saw that you're doing this wrong and this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. Yeah. Tell me about how things are going. Let me know. Yeah. And don't start with this. Really, I'm only calling you because Teresa's mom called about me and told me that this wasn't going to be okay.
Yeah. And now some of that, I mean, you got to cut if they're the big enough things, the problematic thing, right? If they're teaching crazy theology or if they're doing things that don't line up with your church's risk management, you got to nip those in the bud. Yeah. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that. The newness wearing off, some of those best practices start to slip, and that's a good word.
And especially for your new small group leaders.
That's right. Yeah, you need a lot more of that. Coaching's kind of an intern right now, but I like that picture, right? Yeah. That you're not micromanaging, you're not kind of beating them over the head. It's like, hey, how can we begin to shape this a little bit?
Absolutely.
We were talking about this. You have a great analogy about the return on investment.
Absolutely.
Right?
So if you're going to remodel your home, right? Wherever you put $1 into your home, there are some places you're going to get it back.
That's right.
A kitchen being one of those places that, you know what, I'm going to get a lot of return on investment here. And so, but it's expensive. It is super expensive
to invest
into that kitchen.
That's right.
And it feels the same way with our small group leaders.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, you know what, I'm going to tweak curriculum. I'm going to tweak the way that the lights function on a Wednesday night. Investing in people can be hard sometimes, and having that hard conversation with a small group leader. But let me tell you, if a kitchen is at its top tier, you're going to have some awesome meals come out of that kitchen. Yeah. And you can produce awesome meals out of a bad kitchen. That's going to happen.
Yeah, but people walk in, like that first thing they come in contact with is that really awesome kitchen. They're going to be like, man, there's a lot of value here.
Yeah, and it's easier to produce good things in an updated kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. When we invest in our small group leaders, it's not that they won't be able to produce quality ministry. It's that all you're doing is making their job easier, which is going to make your life easier. Because the reality is you're not going to be able to reach every student in your ministry on a personal level. And no matter if you're Superman or who you are, you don't have that possibility, but your small group leaders can.
You wanted to make. I'm a little disconcerted that you just used a DC reference there. I thought we were
That's-
Marvel guys.
That's true.
I felt the pause, and I knew you wanted to back off and do a Marvel. And
I don't want to go some obscure person,
yeah.
right?
And
that
Jake
they're all
doesn't
gonna
even
be
know what we're
like,
talking about. Jake doesn't know what Marvel and DC are. No idea.
That's
It's like,
fine.
who is this Superman
Yeah,
character
yeah.
you talk about? Marvel analogies from here on out.
Perfect.
Robbie.
That's my bad. My bad.
So this is when the honeymoon wears off and we're watching some of those best practices fade, right? We step in with good coaching. Good coaching's worth it. We're building that investment.
Absolutely.
But I think the bigger issue that we were kind of talking about is if we get it right on the front end, right? If we're recruiting well, the idea is that maybe some of these things, even if we're going to have that little slump, we've all been there. I think the first time I ever led a 7th grade small group, I quit 6 times between August and December, right? Like it happens. But if you do a really good job on the front end of recruiting people, right? Knowing your people, refining your ask, bringing them in to this movement that you've launched in your youth ministry, you kind of get ahead of some of these things.
And the temptation is to fill spots, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You see that thing coming, but how you want to kind of say, I want to find the right person.
That's right.
I'm trying to remember. Roger was saying something the other day in the office, and it was we'd rather be searching for the right person than be rushed.
Yeah, that's right. So and you can see those deadlines bearing down on you, right? Like, oh my gosh, fall semester starts in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
When we take that warm body over really vetting people, we always run that risk. Sometimes you get, you get a winner and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, so recruiting well in the front end really does kind of cut off a lot of these bad tendencies. So hey, we're mindful of the rhythms of your youth ministry.
Yeah.
And we love coming alongside of you and partnering with you as you go through the newness of the kickoff of the year. And right, the honeymoon phase is great, and we're here for you when maybe the honeymoon phase is over.
Yeah.
If you've got questions, thoughts, input, we'd love to hear from you. It's a pleasure to serve you. We look forward to talking to you in the future. You guys take care.